Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Turfgrass Epistemology. I made it. I'm TravisShaddox. One of these days, I keep saying it, one of these days, I'm just not going to show up here. You're going to wonder what happened. And I didn't make it for some reason, but I made it. I'm here. Okay. Things might not be looking the same way they normally look on the show, but we'll make it work today. I have just a weird time going on here today. My wife's been gone for a week, stuck in Puerto Rico. She's trying to get back home in the middle of a snowstorm. I'm here with the kids and just, I'm not complaining. Like I said, people got it worse than I do. And I just flying by the seat of my pants here tonight. Thank you all for being here tonight. There's already a lot of people here. Appreciate everybody being here. We're going to go over a video tonight, as apparently you all already are aware of the video we're going to go over. And I fixed the chat, so I'm going to be able to do a little bit more conversation with you all on screen with the chat. And let's see, I guess, welcome the members, Ashanti, Grisman, Andrew, Gray Fox, TZ Guy, Mason, Grisman, a lot of people here tonight. So where am I at? Please consider liking the video and subscribing if you haven't already, or if you're a member, then you're supporting Turfgrass research as well as the needs to keep the show on air, all the different expenses and stuff that I have. So please consider doing that. What I'm considering doing next week, normally I've noticed what I do is I end up doing these videos on Tuesday evenings. I used to do them on Tuesday mornings. But I think next week what I'm going to do is I have another video. I'm probably going to do it on the members only stream on Monday morning. And because the members are really, I appreciate all the subscribers, I really do, but the members kind of keep this thing running. And so I'm going to do probably a members only stream on Monday morning. Hang on, I'm trying to fix something here real quick, if you don't mind. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. There's just a slight problem with the setup here. I'm trying to keep this thing alive and it's not easy. Sometimes I may end up actually, hang on. I'm really sorry, guys. Hang on. Trying to get this thing fixed. I had to fix some issues on my computer here, and it looks like I didn't get it fixed. Let me just go back to this, I guess. Anyway, so you may notice a little bit of funky things going on with the audio and the video. That's okay. What are we going to do? I'm only one man and I'm just got 15 things going on. Literally, the video today we're going to go over. There's a lot of products on that he goes over, and I was trying to bring the products up. The problem is he has so many products. I can't. It's hard for me to get them all up on the screen. Hard for me to go over every label because he's got like 10 or 15 products he's going over. It's insane. So that's one reason I'm behind. But anyway, I'll get this show going. I apologize for my mannerisms today. It just really messed up. And so anyway, next Monday I'll probably go over a video, and then Tuesday I'll either do another video or I'll just do a scientific article next week. Okay, next Tuesday evening. Don't forget, I'm going to be in Connecticut or Delaware, one of the two, the first week of March. And if you want to come over and get some CEUs and some time with me or time with one of the other speakers, there's a lot of good speakers that are going to be at the Northeast Turfgrass Research Foundation conference the first week in March. I think it's in Delaware or Connecticut. I'll be up there giving 3 or 4 lectures, and as well as other really good scientists. I think Frank Rossi's there. I think there's a professor from Tennessee. There's many good professors. I think Ross Braun's going to be there. I believe I saw his name on the list. So there's a lot of people going to be there. So please consider going over and participating if you so desire. So, okay. I'm just going to say this before I even actually start the video. The episode today is from a channel called Yard Bra. And if you go to, in fact, I think if I do it right now, if you go to, I think it's, yeah. Okay. So let me put this in the chat, and then I'm going to put it on in the video, so it'll be there forever. If you go to this website, and I don't know who did this. I know I saw it. I believe it was on the Grass Factor. I could be wrong, but if you go to that link, you'll learn all about all the lovely things that this particular gentleman has been a part of. And it's not a hearsay. It's not some conspiracy. He pleaded guilty to a felony. And my take on this might be a little different than the average person, I think. I don't know. But I'm going to say this before I even start the episode about this particular gentleman's situation is recidivism is a big problem in the United States and around the world. Huge problem. And I'm a believer that if you committed the crime and you served your time, you paid your penance, then so be it. You know, let's get these people back into society and working, and because they're going to be a part of our society, and we need them employed. We need them to be hopefully repaired and, you know, functioning members of our society. So I'm all for that. It's a huge problem, recidivism, and I think if you paid your penance and you paid your time, then you did it, and let's get back in society and start being productive. However, that doesn't mean I'm going to stick my daughter or my family in a car with you. Okay, that doesn't mean that at all. I can forgive what you did. You paid your time and you paid your penance, but I'm not going to forget. So let's all keep things in perspective here a little bit here, considering the not even alleged, the crimes that were committed here. I'm not even going to mention them because I don't know what I can and can't mention on YouTube. But they're so severe that please go check out that website, and you can learn all about this fine gentleman. And so be it. So now, let's get on with the show. Today's episode of Tinfoil Turfgrass comes from Yard Bra. This title of this video is called Dark Green Grass 24/7, 365 days a year. The mollycoddle mix, the recipe with ingredients plus a schedule. Something about, I don't know if the mollycoddle is actually a word. Is that actually a word? It sounds awful creepy to me. Is that actually a word? Let's Google it. I guess it is a word. If I was this particular gentleman, yeah, it is a word. I would be choosing some other verb to use other than mollycoddle, considering his background. But anyway, let's get into the video. And see. This video, by the way, was sent to me on an email by, I believe, one of the members. And I can't remember who sent it or whatever. But it was sent to me, as well as the other 2 or 3 videos, and that I'm going to be going over in the future. So please send me the videos if you would like for me to go over them. They don't have to necessarily be, you know, bad recommendations. They can be good recommendations, but please send them to me in the email, and the email is in the description of every video. Here we go.
Now, to me, when I go and study things like reviews, I'm about to buy a product, or how to do something, it's not necessarily the best person I'm learning from. It's the person who has the most experience. That's who I learn best from. I do.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with that necessarily. Just keep in mind that just because you have a lot of experience doesn't necessarily mean you know how things function. You might know how to get things to function correctly, and that's fine. I mean, my grandfather I think he graduated from 7th or 8th grade from Arkansas. He's a hillbilly from Arkansas, and he could fix just about anything on the planet. Anything that had an internal combustion engine, he could drive it and fix it and repair it. And he didn't go to any school. He had a lot of experience, is the point. He didn't need book smarts. He had a lot of street smarts. So there's a lot of value to that. Just don't discount necessarily the folks that have the book smarts and might be a little short on the experience. They can provide value as well.
See you out here all the time. Yeah, Yard Bro. Cool, thanks, brother. Take care.
Over the years, I've dialed down how to level up my lawn. For the longest time, my lawn was just okay, right?
So just make sure dialed down how to level it up. So keep that in mind as we move forward. I think what I'm inferring from that is he's refining the products down in a way that results in a greater lawn. I'm not real sure, but that's what I'm inferring from what he said.
It was a dominator for sure, but it kind of like blended in with everyone who was also had a decent lawn, and I wanted to be a little different. We got some leaves. It's not.
Oh, believe me, you're different. You don't have to try to be different. We all know you're different. Okay, you don't have to try any harder than you've already tried in the past. Okay, you don't need just assimilate into society. We don't need you to be different anymore.
Not necessarily a secret. I mean, it's out there. I do it all the time.
It's not a secret anymore. I just put it on the screen. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. I'm trying to be a kind person, but just go to the website and you'll know all about it.
Do it once a week, and then I add more things to it every single month, and these are the results. I'm cutting at under 1/2 inch, and it's dark.
Yeah, no, we're also going to talk quite a bit tonight about at least one formal fallacy, and we're going to discuss a little bit how it's related to another formal fallacy that I've gone over in the channel many times before. But there's a couple people who really enjoy the content that I go over and descriptions that I go over about forming or understanding and identifying fallacies. And then we're going to go over that tonight in a little bit of detail on one particular flaw, which he just went over. And that is, look, I did this and this is what happened. And so we're going to go over that tonight as well.
I mean, it's dark, it's tight, it's dense, it's lush, and no one can compete. Okay, Yarbrough, we get it. Hurry up, just tell us the secret. What is it?
I mean, before I knew about the clips and the news articles and the legal issues, and I you all know me. I try to keep this about the claims. I really do, and I get attacked for all sorts of various things, but I really try to keep it on the claims and not the person. But something just didn't sit well with me with this particular gentleman before I even knew about all the other stuff. It's just something a little bit creepy, okay? A little odd. And I don't know what I'm saying here. It's just something just not quite right, I guess. But you see what I'm saying? He's just a little bit too manic, I guess. I don't know.
Spoon feeding. There you go. Spoon feeding your lawn. It's so simple. It's so easy. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, there's nothing wrong with spoon feeding as long as you have the energy and the time to dedicate to it. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. So there's one thing I agree with for sure. There's a lot of different ways to slice that cake, in terms of maintaining turfgrass with nutrition wise. Spoon feeding meaning you're applying a little bit of nutrients at very, very low rates, little nutrients, and you're just doing it more frequently. So nothing wrong with that. You just have to be willing to put the time in. That's all, and the money in.
Mollycoddling. I mollycoddle my lawn every single week. I fertilize pretty much 6 times a month.
Wow.
I can't make.
Yeah, I wouldn't be using those voiceovers and those sound bits if I were you. I don't know what this guy's name is. Can't remember. It's in the news articles. Go read the court documents. It's in there. But I wouldn't be using that if I were you. I don't know if it's registering in his head. I'm not sure. There's no. Ned G says, didn't know Grass Factor was a mod here since it's, no, there's no mod here. I'm a one-man show. Was there an issue or something? I'm a one-man show. That's it. I'm sorry if there was a misunderstanding there, Ned. There's no moderator here besides myself. Anyway, we continue. He spoon feeds his lawn. A-okay with me, no problem. It's also okay with me just to do granulars once a month or once every 2 or 3 months, depending on how you want to slice that cake. It's fine.
Get up 6 times a month. I'm gonna show you exactly what I do with all the products I use and kind of like a little schedule. Everyone's been asking for this video for a long time, so let's do it. I mean, for having all these grass types in my lawn, and I haven't cut it yet today. Look at how healthy this is. I mean, that's no joke.
Yeah, for those listening, I'm assuming it's a cool season grass. It's hard for me to tell. It's probably a Kentucky bluegrass or something. I don't know. It's low cut. I can't imagine that being that's being tall fescue. It's probably Kentucky bluegrass. But it looks like a cool season grass. I don't know if he mentions it in the video.
That's no joke, my dudes. I mean, look at this.
And it looks
Look at
good.
this.
I mean, look. I mean, he's clearly got it striped up. I don't know if he's using a real mower or what kind of mower he's using, but it doesn't really look like a real mower. But you know, it looks okay. It looks good. It's fine by me.
It's on YouTube. Thank you.
like them casino dealers. I'm gonna show you every product that I use, how often I use it, and all the different alternatives I have. Now, you gotta remember, guys, there are cheaper ways to do this. This doesn't have to be super expensive. For instance, nitrogen. You can get nitrogen super cheap, right?
Yeah, I'm glad he's saying that. I don't know exactly. Obviously I've watched the video, but I don't know exactly. I can't remember what he does with nitrogen. But he brings a good point up, and that is there's a lot of different ways to do it. There's a lot less expensive ways to do it than these spoon feeding approaches if you're using something other than just straight ammonium sulfate or urea or something like that. Those are about the least expensive ways you can do this. But he mentions there's a lot of different ways to do it, and there's less expensive ways to do it, and I agree, obviously.
I just like using expensive products because I know they work. Like, you can get that diesel stuff, but you know, it's urea. It's all the same. At the end of the day, I don't want to wear the $26 Amazon Balenciagas. I want the $1,000 Balenciagas. You feel me? I don't do
just something. I can't explain it. Sorry.
so bougie. But at the end of the day, I like using products that work together very well, and it works. So it obviously works. This is the best my lawn has ever looked to date, and I've been doing this YouTube channel for almost 3 years now.
Yeah, so that's the fallacy. Of course, it's the post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy, but that's not the name I'm going to talk about tonight. I may end up waiting until the end of the video and going over it because I want to go over it in detail. But in the meantime, you guys can look up the affirming the consequent, and that is a formal fallacy, very similar to the post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy, meaning like he's doing this, and if I do this, then this is what's going to happen, and then you see what happens, and then you go, okay, well, that's what happened, and therefore what I did caused it. And it's very, very difficult to get around. Even scientists, even very knowledgeable, educated people in this world, even attorneys, whoever, I mean, very knowledgeable people, it's very difficult to kind of get over that position. It's a formal fallacy because the structure of the argument is flawed itself. So you have premise one, doing this will cause that. Premise two is, I see this, and then because you see this, therefore the first premise is true. And make a long story short, both premises are true, but just because one is true and the other is true doesn't mean that one caused the other. That's a horrible explanation. I'm sorry. I did a horrible job explaining that, but I'll get to it later too.
Can't make it up. Can't make it up. Results speak for themselves. Me and the subs that do use the expensive products, they send me their pictures and their lawn looks good. And it's funny because I post some that don't use Turf Titan, and it's just kind of like, yeah, but you can see the difference for sure. When you're watching.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get over that flaw, that fallacy, and that is, oh, I did it and I saw the results, and therefore what I did caused those results. I've been doing it for 20 years. I've been doing it for ages and ages. So many people do it, and it's not easy to kind of get over that. You have to recognize first that it's a flaw in reasoning. You can't, what you did might have caused that, but you can't say because what you did and what you saw, you're claiming what I did is going to cause this. Then I saw what I said would be the result, and therefore what I did caused it. It's hard to get over that flaw. It's a formal fallacy. It's affirming the consequent. And how we get around that is by putting these variables into the scientific method and actually measuring it. And when we measure it and we account for other variables, other confounding factors, and we try to rule out all the other factors, then we can have some confidence in indeed, what we did cause that. But the average person on YouTube is not going to do that. They're going to go, hey, I do this, and what you're going to see is this, and therefore, you should buy my stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So Chuck, so this is the question in the chat. So A equals B, B equals C, therefore C equals A. Not quite, Chuck. Not quite. Very close. What it is here, I'll write it in chat. Let's see, can I write this in chat? This is the formal structure. P therefore, P causes Q. See if I can do this. I see Q, therefore P. This is the formal structure. P causes Q, I see Q, therefore P. And so you have two premises that are actually true. P might cause Q, that might be true, and you see Q, that's true, and then you're going to assume Q causes P. That's the flaw in reasoning. Because what the reason it's a flaw, I guess I'll just go over it now. The reason it's a flaw is because when you assume what you see it was a result of what you did, you're not accounting for other factors that could have caused it. Like, for example, you say, oh, I'm going to apply this nitrogen and I'm going to see green grass. You see green grass, therefore nitrogen caused it. Meanwhile, maybe there was no nitrogen in the liquid. Maybe it was all liquid iron. Maybe there was no liquid iron. Maybe it was sulfate and the grass was sulfate deficient, and that's what caused the greening. Maybe none of that was there, and maybe it was manganese deficient, and you had manganese in the liquid and you didn't know it, and maybe manganese caused it. In other words, you're not accounting for other things that could have caused it because you're assuming, because you saw what you believed you would see as a result of what you did, therefore you're just assuming what you did caused it. So you're very close on that, Chuck. Very, very close on that structure. Okay. Yeah, Kunan Pharaoh says, yeah, this is why scientists control with control samples and variables. That's correct. What we're trying to do in science, in the scientific method, is we're not trying to show that something works. We're trying to disprove the hypothesis. It's a weird sort of statistical requirement in sciences, and that goes all the way back to Karl Popper's papers when he first started talking about, like, scientists aren't here to show something works. We're here to actually disprove that it doesn't work. We're trying to prove that it doesn't work. You know, that's the reason we have null hypotheses, right? We either reject or we fail to reject the null hypothesis. And if we reject the null hypothesis, then we can conclude the hypothesis is true. But if we fail to reject the null hypothesis, we then can't conclude that it's true, that the hypothesis is true. So that's what we do in science. We're constantly trying to disprove things. We're not trying to prove that it works. It's a weird, so it might sound sort of awkward to like a non-statistician or the mindset, but that's what we're here to do. When I go out and apply nitrogen to see if I see a green response, I'm not trying to prove that nitrogen causes it. I'm trying to disprove it by counting for all the other variables. I'm going to count for iron. I'm going to count for sulfur. I'm going to count for phosphorus. I'm going to count for all the confounding variables. I'm going to try to rule everything out. I'm going to try to disprove it. And then when I can't disprove it, I have to conclude, well, it was the nitrogen. That's sort of a foundational tenet of the scientific process. And it really wasn't that way until Karl Popper wrote his papers and his books. This is going back almost 100 years ago. Okay, we did it. It was assumed to be different until then. We continue.
This, and you're gonna put all the products together. Like I said, you can put on whatever you want. I'm not saying go buy Turf Titan. I'm not saying go buy GS Plant Foods. I'm giving you the ingredients on what to put in, and then if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, try my products, right? Try the products I use. Make that decision. But this video is a general video on what to put in your mollycoddle mix. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. The results speak for themselves. It doesn't matter if I'm using GS Plant Foods or Turf Titan or Lawn Supply Co. It works. It all works. Just some products work better than most. I don't have the scientific solution or answer to why it works better. You know what I mean? It's just preference on product. I'm not biased against any products. I love all products. I treat all products equally. Let's get to the products, guys. Come on. We'll go to what Treasured Lawn and I call the smoothie bar. Pardon the smoothie bar, it's a little distraught. I just threw away a bunch of stuff and I just put down a bunch of other stuff, and I gotta re-up soon. We'll go outside and I'll show you what I use. Let's talk about the weekly spoon feeding. I'm talking 4 times a month, every Saturday, so this is every weekend. This is the mollycoddle weekly version. I live and die by this stuff, guys. This is Lawn Supply Company by the big dog, Ryan Nora. I've been using this since the beginning of times. Ever since I started reel mowing and spoon feeding, this is the product. This is a 1818 fertilizer, well-rounded fertilizer that I put into a backpack sprayer. So first I put it into some hot water, dissolve it, put it in the backpack sprayer, as well as some iron.
So the 1818, I didn't know Ryan made that. I guess that's one of his products. I don't know. I think I have that up here somewhere. One of the labels up here, I think. Yeah, I have it right here. So the 18-18-18, I would never use this product, just so you know. Unless I take that back. I would never use it unless I had a phosphorus deficiency. I don't know if I can zoom in on this thing or not. Can I zoom in on? I can't. Well, the reason I say I wouldn't use it is because it has such a high amount of phosphorus relative to everything else. This product probably, I don't know for sure. I don't know every state law. It's probably not legal to apply in many states. I'm trying to zoom in on the label here. But the label it's an 18-18-18 with boron and copper, which you'll never see a response to either one of those. Manganese, which is possible. That is possible to see a response to manganese, especially as a foliar. And then molybdenum and zinc. Probably the only response you're ever going to see to zinc is a negative response. There's almost no positive responses to zinc in the literature. There are a couple of responses of toxicities to zinc in the turfgrass literature, but I'm not aware of any positive responses to zinc, although I could be wrong. And like I said, there's nothing necessarily wrong with the nitrogen and the phosphorus and the potassium, but at 18-18-18, you are greatly over applying phosphorus and potassium. Let me just explain just a general concept in turfgrass nutrition. And I understand there's evidence to indicate that this general concept wouldn't apply in some situations. But I want to use this general concept as a means to kind of start from a baseline to start from in the world of turfgrass nutrition. If you go into the literature, whether it's cool season or in warm season, and you look at turfgrass tissue analysis, which I don't recommend anybody do. Okay, don't actually take tissue analysis and then base a management practice off of. That's not a very wise thing to do. But in the literature, we can go and look and figure out what are the concentrations of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, iron, manganese, all these things in the turfgrass tissue. That can be of value. And there's one paper, I can't remember who the main author is on the paper, but I know Dr. Soldat's at least a co-author. He might be the main author, I can't remember. And it talks about nitrogen-driven nutrient uptake and how the nutrient uptake in turfgrass is driven by nitrogen. So where I'm going with this is the percentage, or the concentration, I should say, in the turfgrass tissue of phosphorus and potassium relative to nitrogen is for the most part not going to change. Okay? So let's take nitrogen and let's assume that we're using cool season grasses, and let's say the nitrogen is, say, 3% in the tissue. The potassium is almost always going to be around 1.5% in the tissue if the nitrogen is around 3%. Okay? The phosphorus is always going to be, let's say what did I say? I should have done the even numbers. Let's say the nitrogen was at 4%, and then the potassium would be at 2%. The phosphorus is going to be what would that be? It'd be, I'm trying to do the math in my head. I just screwed up. Basically, it's going to be a 2-to-1 N to K in the tissue, and it's going to be about a 4-to-1 N to P in the tissue. So the phosphorus is going to be like 0.2% or 0.3% or something. I should have had these numbers up. Wasn't prepared to kind of go over this. But the point is the concentrations are going to be basically the same. I mean, relative to each other. So if you're going to put more nitrogen on, there's going to be a little bit more nitrogen in the tissue than the phosphorus and potassium. There's going to be a little bit more phosphorus and potassium in the tissue. But they're not really going to change that much relative to the others. I just completely screwed all that up. But you understand the concept. I should have had Doug's paper already pulled up, and I didn't have it pulled up. I wasn't going to go over this. Okay, so if you can disagree with that if you want to, but just for the sake of conversation tonight, if you want to assume that that's true, that the N, the P, the K, and the iron and everything else, give or take within some tolerance level, they're basically going to be the same. The only thing that's going to change is the growth rate of the grass based upon the nitrogen that you apply. And when the growth rate goes up, the mass of the nutrients that are taken up by the soil is going to go up because the tissue mass is going to increase. But the concentration in the tissue, for the most part, is going to be about the same as it was. Okay? Now, the next reason I'm bringing that up is that if you're going to apply nutrients, and you're going to assume you want to apply all the nutrients that could ever take, and you're going to apply it in a vacuum with no nutrients in the soil at all, zero. Let's assume you're applying it on silicon dioxide or some glass or something. There's nothing in the soil other than just silicon dioxide. And you need to supply the nutrients that the turfgrass would need, and only that, but they would need, we wouldn't want to apply any extra. You would only need to apply the nutrients in that concentration that exists in the turfgrass tissue for the most part. You wouldn't need to apply anything more than a 2-to-1 NPK or a 4:1:2 NPK ratio. So 4 parts nitrogen, 1 part phosphorus, and 2 parts potassium. You wouldn't need to apply anything more than that because that's all the turfgrass is going to take up. It's never going to take up twice as much potassium as it would nitrogen. It's never going to take up 4 times as much phosphorus as it would nitrogen. It's never going to do that. It's not possible to have equal amounts of phosphorus and nitrogen in turfgrass tissue. It's never going to happen because you're going to apply more and more nitrogen. It's just going to make the grass grow more and more and more. And more phosphorus and more potassium is going to be taken up. There's no question about that. The mass of phosphorus and the mass of potassium is going to increase, but the concentration relative to nitrogen that you applied is going to be the same. So why then would you need to apply an 18-18-18, a 1-1-1 ratio? Or say a 10-0-20, a 1-0-2 ratio to N and K, like a potassium in the fall. These winterizer fertilizers have high potassium in the fall. That's the concept. And maybe I should dedicate an entire show just to that concept because there's a paper on this as well. But so this product that he's applying, this 18-18-18, if I was deficient in phosphorus, I would apply it maybe based upon the amount of phosphorus, that I would need to apply. But then I would need to apply more nitrogen to account for the demand of nitrogen that it would need. So phosphorus, if you're going to apply a 1/4 pound of phosphorus from something like this, the 1/4 pound of phosphorus would probably be more than enough to alleviate any phosphorus deficiency. But it's unlikely that you would also alleviate the demand for nitrogen or for potassium with that rate. Okay. Now let's go to the next part of his whatever you call it, his products, and see what he says here. What did he say?
Stupid, and I just ran out of Turf Titan Lawn Striper, which is what I use right now, combined with 18-18, or I use a Lawn Star. So this is the Turf Titan Lawn Striper, right?
Lawn Striper. So Lawn Striper is... I try to get these up. The Lawn Striper is right here. Okay. Now, you're not going to be able to see this on the screen necessarily, but I'm going to tell you what the Lawn Striper is. It's a 1200 with 6% iron, 2% manganese. It's just basically 1200 is all it is. There's a lot of 1200s. There's a lot of 1200s in the industry. Dozens and dozens of companies make 1200s. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You would definitely see a good response from this applied at the right rate. The issue I have is that these products have iron glucoheptanate and manganese glucoheptanate in them, and they're marketed as chelated iron. So if I were to apply this product, or if I would consider using a product like this, I would, I don't apply liquids, but if I had a program or I wanted to apply liquid fertilizer, I might actually consider applying a product like a 1200, like this particular product I would consider applying it. But don't have any delusions. You're not applying a soil chelate when you apply iron glucoheptanate or manganese glucoheptanate. Glucoheptanate, unfortunately, by APCO definitions, is a chelate, and it may have some value in terms of the blending in the jug, in its solubility through your screens and through the nozzles and so forth. There may be some value there. I'm not a solution chemist, so I don't know. And it may have some value in terms of staining. It may reduce the staining potential of this product. I don't know about that. But when it hits the soil, which is why a lot of people would buy a chelate. I'm going to buy a chelate to maintain the solubility of this manganese and iron in the solution or increase the greening. When it's that doesn't exist. And I've gone over that paper before. It's called Solubility of Iron, Manganese, and Magnesium Sulfates and Glucoheptanates. You can go back and look at the channel or just Google that. Solubility of iron, manganese, and magnesium glucoheptanates in 12 soils or something like that. And there's almost no doubt. I mean, I would say no doubt, but I'm a scientist. I can't say no doubt. But I mean, pragmatically speaking, there's zero question. Those glucoheptanates have no soil chelation ability at all. So buy the 1200, apply it. You're going to see probably a very good response to a product like this. There's very little doubt in my mind. But just don't buy it based upon, I'm buying a chelate, because you're not buying a soil chelate when you buy a product like this, okay? The next part, we continue in this video.
Right here is the Lawn Star Iron. Again, I'm not a scientist.
So Lawn Star Iron. I'm sorry, I'm having to go back and forth here. Lawn Star Iron Where's the lawn? Oh, here it is, right here. Again, their picture is so small, I couldn't get a better picture. But this Lawn Star iron is a 6% sugar-based chelator. Oh, it says iron sulfate chelated with sodium glucoheptanate. So yeah, it's also iron glucoheptanate. This product will almost undoubtedly turn your grass green. There's virtually no question about it if you apply it at the right labeled rate. But again, it is not a chelate. It's not a soil chelate like EDTA, DTPA, or EDDHA, or there's many other chelates as well, not just those three, but those three are kind of staples in our industry. Glucoheptanate, polysaccharides, even iron citrate, these products have virtually no soil chelation ability at all. And that's all in that paper. Go and look at those papers that I've gone over before. Iron citrate's one where there's a tiny bit of solubility, but it's so small it's essentially zero. Okay, I think it remains soluble for like 4 hours or something in the soil. But go back and look at that episode, or I can go over the article again if I need to. But just don't have any delusions. You will see a response from both that 1200 and this liquid iron source, but they're not chelated iron sources in terms of the soil solubility of the chelate. That's not going to happen. Let me see if I can fix it. I'm going back and forth between these things so much on this episode. I'm trying to keep things all straightened up. It's really not easy. Here we go.
Freaking neighbor dominator said, Clint. But at the end of the day, I like to switch up the foods I give to the lawn. I like to switch up the macro and the micronutrients. What you're doing weekly is applying macro and a little bit of micronutrients. At the end of the day, I'm putting it down every single time. I'm putting down both macro and micro. Macro is the main stuff, NPK. Micro, iron, manganese, magnesium, all the little things that help thrive in the lawn, help your lawn thrive. Those are micros.
Well, he's wrong about the magnesium, but who cares? That's fine. He's doing this live. He didn't know, but it doesn't make any difference. Adding macros and micros. There are, besides iron and manganese with two micronutrients, besides iron and manganese, I don't know of any bona fide response to any micronutrient other than those two. And you can apply those as liquid. But if you're going to apply them as granular, you only have one option. And for manganese sulfate, you can apply that. You can't apply any granular iron unless it's chelated, but that's so expensive. It's kind of pointless to do it that way. But if you're going to spray out micronutrients, just make sure they contain iron and manganese, and you're wasting pretty much all your money on everything else. So and there are products out there that just have iron sulfate and manganese sulfate, or you can do the iron chelates and manganese chelates in those as well and reduce your staining potential. But anything else I'm just going to buy one micronutrient blend. Anything else in there is just waste. You're not, I mean, you could be harming some things in the world of zinc. There could be some harm that you're applying micronutrients with high zinc. It could cause some problems. But you're probably not hurting anything by applying those other stuff agronomically. You're just hurting your pocketbook because you're buying these things. You're not getting anything out of it. But I would say virtually 100% of the time when you apply iron correctly, you're going to see a response to that liquid iron. 1 to 5 pounds of liquid iron per acre, not per thousand. And manganese is the same way. Manganese at about 1 to 5 pounds of manganese per acre. There's a pretty good chance you're going to see a response to those applications almost every time. So micronutrients, just kind of stay focused on iron and manganese. If you want some color, spray them out. With macronutrients, you're applying these 18-18-18s and 13-13-13s and 20-20-20s. You're just wasting a ton of money. It's probably illegal if you're doing it granular in some states with the phosphorus. You can't apply that much phosphorus in many states. But if you're spraying them out, I mean, there's a chance you're hurting some stuff by applying that much potassium. I've gone over that before. Potassium has more of a chance to harm your grass than help your grass. With phosphorus, I'm personally not overly concerned about phosphorus movement because it just sticks wherever it goes. But the legislatures in our states have seen things differently, and they restrict a lot of that phosphorus application. So I wouldn't be applying a lot of macronutrients that have high phosphorus in them. And I wouldn't be wasting my time putting a lot of macronutrients that have a lot of potassium in them unless I had a bona fide phosphorus deficiency or a bona fide potassium deficiency. Otherwise, I'd be sticking it with nitrogen. That's what I'd be sticking with is nitrogen in those products, okay? You know, oh, good. Turf Nerd says, Maryland is a no phosphorus state. So, and I think that might be the case also, even with things like compost in Maryland, if I'm not mistaken. You can't even apply compost unless it's been confirmed you have a phosphorus deficiency or the compost doesn't have phosphorus in it. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding. Thanks for the comment, Turf Nerd. Appreciate it. Let's continue.
So, weekly, triple 18 fertilizer, and iron. I use about 8 to 12 ounces per thousand, and this right here is gonna be about, well, if you wanna dominate, 6 ounces per thousand. Weekly. And I showed you the alternatives too. There's alternatives. Lawn Star is dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. In between the weekly fertilizer, I apply a sea kelp and a humic acid to...
Oh, good. Now we're getting into the tinfoil stuff. Sea kelp and humic acid. I've gone over sea kelp before, humic acid. I've gone over a couple papers on that. Neither one of them showed any response to any of that stuff. However, there is an outside chance you could possibly see a response to things like sea kelp or even humic acid if you happen to apply it at the exact right time of year where you have the exact right type of stress that's stressing the exact right part of the grass that generates a particular hormone. Okay, so when those conditions line up just right, there could be some benefit to applying a product like kelp that has cytokinins or humic acids that have auxins or whatever. I mean, these products that have these hormones in them, it could be beneficial in a very specific situation. But to just go do it all the time, agronomically, I don't think you're going to hurt anything. I'm not aware of any harm environmentally or agronomically to the turf that you would encounter, but you're going to waste a mountain of money because you're probably not going to see anything beneficial to it unless you have that specific scenario.
Help protect the lawn. That's going to help protect the grass blades from heat stress and just gives it another form of nutrients. This is what I use in the beginning. This is Root Ruckus.
Root Ruckus, I didn't get the label on this. He had so many up here I couldn't even keep track of them. All natural Root Ruckus, turbocharged super compost. I have no idea about this product at all.
This is a combination of sea kelp as well as humic acid. It's amazing. I'll put like 6 ounces per thousand every other week. So this is a 2-week thing. But lately, the difference I'm seeing right here, baby. I'm using.
Good Lord, Drought Defender. I thought I'd try to get most of these labels up. We got Drought Defender, Lawn Kelper, and Root Booster. He's holding these. He can't even hold them in his hands. He's got so many products.
This sea kelp from Turf Titan. I'm using this humic, and then I also use...
Oh, so Root Booster must be a humic.
Their Drought Defender, which has a combination of sea kelp and other micronutrients.
Drought Defender to me sounds more like a wetting agent.
This right here is, the best stuff. This trio right here, every other week, this is the business. If you're on a budget, go for this. Works good. You're just going to get sea kelp and humic, or you can add the trifecta and get a bunch of nutrients all up in your jazz. Once a month, I'll do what I call the kitchen sink, where I throw...
Well, what have you been doing so far? You got like 10 products already on the list. And then once a month, he's going to do the kitchen sink. Good Lord.
Everything at the lawn. And yes, if you do the calculations properly, I'm throwing down over 120 ounces of juice in with a 4-gallon backpack sprayer. It's a lot. Hello.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. That's the affirming the consequent. He has no clue what he's doing in terms of his flawed and reasoning. But that's a post hoc ergo propter hoc. After this, therefore, because of this, I did this, therefore it caused it. The rooster crowed and the sun came up. Therefore, the rooster caused the sun to come up. And again, I'm not saying what he didn't do it. I'm just saying that you can't make that connection. Premise 1 and premise 2 are true, but the form of it, the structure of it is flawed, and that's why it's a form of fallacy. Okay, you can't make that connection. You can't. The way you would avoid that is how? By asking the epistemological question, how do you know? And you have to go in the literature and look. Now, you could go out with yourself and actually do a quick little trial, a short little trial. It's not going to prove anything definitively, but you at least would have some confidence. Hey, I applied this liquid iron. Let's say you had I have these little 2x4 foot rugs in front of my house, like a mat in front of my house. You go out and throw that on your lawn, spray your lawn, you'd be spraying over the rug, and then remove it. And if you see a brown square out there or a less green square out there, it wouldn't necessarily prove it to a scientist, but you'd at least have some confidence that indeed what you did resulted in darker green grass because you had some sort of a control out there. But it's not easy to get around this flaw. It's very difficult for, like I said, even scientists, they go, what do you mean? You can't, I did that and that's what I saw and therefore it caused that. No, you can't say that. You're affirming the consequent when you do that. That's a very dangerous road to go down. It's the reason we exist in science. We have to eliminate the variation. We have to eliminate the bias. We have to eliminate other factors that we are likely could be influencing our results. And when we do that, and we still can't rule it out, then we can conclude that indeed that's what caused it. Boring statistic stuff. Sorry, guys.
So let me show you what the kitchen sink consists of. This right here is the kitchen sink.
Holy Moses. Look at all this stuff. Holy cow. That's the reason I said he's the greatest cheerleader for buying all the stuff you don't need. He's got on his, let's count them. He's got 1, 2, well, this might be in the jug in this box. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He's got 14 products he's going to throw at his lawn. And this is also the composition division fallacy. When you have so much stuff out there, you're throwing out there, how are you going to know what part of all this stuff actually was beneficial? You're assuming that because you did all of it, then therefore every individual part within it was beneficial. It's absolute madness. And we had that other video. Who was that guy the other day? Last week we had, oh man, what was that guy's name? The lawn mentor guy, whatever his name is. He had the same stuff. Well, not the same products, but he had the same issue where he had 10, 15 products. It's not overly complicated, guys. Think of it like this. Well, this is more of a golf course related analogy. So let's say you're a golf course superintendent and let's work with putting greens for a second. And you have irrigation going on. Okay, you irrigate your putting greens, whatever frequency you're irrigating your putting greens. And you're comfortable and you know that this much water is going to result in a desired outcome in the grass. But every now and then, especially if you're in the transition zone and you're growing bent grass, every now and then you still have to go out and syringe the greens. You kind of go out and get those hot spots in the middle of the afternoon, which is what happened in Southern Hills in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when they were growing bent grass. And you had to go out there every afternoon and syringe those greens down and cool them off. Because the amount of water you're applying regularly wasn't always quite enough. You sometimes needed a little bit extra to kind of give it, what it needed to kind of get through that hot period or dry period. Okay. Think of the soil and nutrition in the same way. The soil is going to provide a great deal of all this nutrition already on its own. That is the regular applications of water, the soil that you would get from the irrigation or from rainfall. You're getting all this water regularly. You're not having to go out there and syringe the green every single day or every single green. Or you have your indicator spots on your greens and you're going to hit those at certain times of the day or certain times of the year. But you're not going to have to do it all the time. Because the water is providing a lot of that for you, or the natural rainfall and the irrigation is providing a lot of that for you. Well, the soil is providing a lot of this nutrition for you already. It's providing a lot of the phosphorus, the potassium, the iron, the manganese, the boron, all this stuff. It's providing you already. Okay, that's the regular rainfall, the regular irrigation. However, every now and then, the conditions line up where you have to go and syringe your green. The conditions line up where you have to apply a little bit of nitrogen or a little bit of phosphorus or a little bit of potassium. Because it wasn't quite enough. The soil wasn't providing not quite enough nutrient to kind of get you through, to have the turfgrass result in your desired outcome. It wasn't quite enough. So you give it a little bit. But you don't have to continue to pound it and just throw 15, 20 things at it. Just like when you're syringing the greens, when you have those hot spots on your putting greens, on your bent grass greens, you syringe them and then they're good. And if the conditions cool down the next week or two, you might not have to syringe them again. Just like your soil, when you apply a little bit of phosphorus or potassium to alleviate that deficiency, you might not have to apply phosphorus or potassium again for a while. You alleviate that deficiency, it's going to go away. It may not go away permanently. You may have to come back, but you don't have to continue to pound it all the time. And that's one thing these people fail to see is that when you're making so much money on these products, guys and gals, and there's nothing wrong with making money. I'm a capitalist to the bone, okay? But these products are sometimes north of 80 or 90 points on these liquid products. To give you an idea, granular fertilizer, you'll be lucky to make double digits on those margins. So they can sell one case of these liquids and make more margin dollars than they can sell a ton of urea. So they're driven and motivated to sell these liquid products. And I have no problem with liquid products. Sell your liquid products. But from a consumer's perspective, I need to know, well, what is my soil deficient in? What is my turf grass deficient in? What do I actually need to apply in order to get it through this little deficiency period that it's in? And it's not all this stuff. I can tell you that for almost guaranteed. It ain't this. It's probably a little bit of phosphorus, maybe a little bit of potassium, maybe a little bit of iron. There could be odd things here and there where a little bit of cytokinins might help in the right time of year. But it's not all this stuff. This is a great way to spend a mountain of money and get essentially the same response you'd get from applying nitrogen. Keep an eye on it. Maybe applying a little phosphorus if you need a little potassium if you need it here and there. A little foliar iron if you need it here and there. Okay. It doesn't need to be this complicated. But when you're in sales and you're selling products, you're not selling products on the water, light, or temperature part of the pyramid. You're selling products on the injury, which has to do with pests, and the soil part of the pyramid, which is all the fertilizers and all the kelps and all the humic acids and all this other stuff. Okay. So we want to be mindful that these are available, but that doesn't mean you need them. Like I said earlier, that 1200 is a great product. The 6% iron is a great product. But you need to understand, would you actually need what's in there? And if you do, then get it and apply it, no problem. But all this other stuff is just madness.
Put all these products down once a month. I kid you not. You're thinking, God, this guy's crazy.
Yeah, no. You hit it on the head. I'm thinking a lot of things more than just that. Oh man, Kuhnhound, you need to get my personal phone number. We need to talk. I don't know. Something. I was gonna put your comment on the screen, but I'm not. I can't do that. I'm sorry, man. That's funny. Oh man, sorry. I apologize for those listening. Funny comment.
No, I'm doing stuff that works. So once a month, we are going to rock the T-Nex.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Hang on. I'm gonna have to go get a tissue. I'm sorry. Let me collect myself before I go on. Jeez. I'm trying not to use any foul language. I was scolded by a member saying I need to stop using some certain language. So I'm trying to be careful what I say here. When I get the giggles though, it's hard for me to stop. I'm going to put you in timeout, Kuhnhound, for like 5 minutes so I stop laughing. All right, here we go.
Plant growth regulator. It's going to help darken up your lawn as well as keep it regulated from growing too crazy.
Yeah, that's the one thing. So he's holding up a bottle of T-Nex, Trinexpac ethyl, and that's one thing for sure that, I don't know if it's fair to say this or not, but if you've gone from a rotary mower to a reel mower and you can see the difference between the quality of cut, it's like, whoa. That can be the same thing as going from no Trinexpac or no PGRs to going to PGRs. I mean, you really can see that magnitude of a benefit when you've never used a PGR and suddenly you start applying PGRs. I'm not saying you would. I'm not saying that's the case in every case, but it can be. So if you really, really want a nice lawn and you really want a your fairways are growing too fast. I mean, the golf course guys know this. They do it all the time. But if you really want to tighten it up and have your lawn be separated from everybody else's, reel mower is probably number one on the list. Sharp blades on a reel mower and PGRs. Those can really separate it out. So I give them credit there. That's definitely a useful tool.
I cut every day anyways, but just nice to have it regulated and then have that lateral growth. You know what I mean? So T-Nex once a month. Hydrotain once a month.
We've gone over Hydrotain. I didn't know that. I forgot he had this on the video. We've gone over Hydrotain, and there's only one known paper on that, and it showed clearly that it didn't do anything. It had 4 or 5 studies in that one paper, and it didn't provide any benefit to the turfgrass. Before I forget, please like and subscribe if you haven't liked the video already, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do this every Tuesday evening and Monday mornings for the members. Hydrotain, the idea is that you put it out and it will absorb moisture from the air and provide moisture to the turfgrass roots and reduce the amount of water. In fact, this jug says 50% reduced water. There's zero evidence to support that in the literature. But to be fair, there's only a little bit of evidence in the literature at all. And even in that literature, it's not refereed literature. It's pretty low quality literature where I've read that paper from. So I wouldn't say it's a slam dunk that, yes, this definitely will not work. There's no way. But I would say there's no evidence to support it at all. And the evidence that I am aware of, albeit very weak evidence, indicates that it's not going to do anything in terms of reducing your water usage or increasing your turfgrass quality. So this product is a big fat waste of money as far as I'm concerned.
It's going to help keep that keep the moisture into your lawn. This is a must. Hydrotain. Oh, it doesn't work. Whatever. It works for me. Kelp and yucca.
Whatever. Okay, it works for you. Great. Doesn't make any difference to me. If you have your own personal experience or personal revelation, that doesn't do anybody else any good. Just because you did it and you think you saw a response, it doesn't help anybody else. We have to know whether or not we can predict its response with other people as well.
This is a natural wetting agent.
Kelp and yucca growth and drought serum? Never heard of it. Kelp and yucca.
From GS Plant Foods. It's just all about preventing the grass from going dormant. I put all this stuff to keep the grass super, super moist, and all these wetting agents on top of Hydro Holder. Now, Hydro Holder I'll use every 2 weeks and monthly for the kitchen sink mollycoddle. Hydro Holder is also a wetting agent.
Okay, Hydro Holder is a wetting agent. And then this is one thing, and again, I've done quite a bit of wetting agent work, and it's rare that I see a response, but I have seen a response, and it doesn't happen all the time. But this is one area that I'm surprised more people haven't kind of at least experimented with a little bit. He uses a wetting agent. He uses 2 or 3 wetting agents, apparently. And what wetting agents do is they lower the surface tension of water and kind of help the water penetrate dry soil, hydrophobic soils. So when your soil is moist and it's at fill capacity and you don't have any hydrophobic areas, then it's not a problem. You probably don't need it. But that's, well, I mean, it depends on what your lawn looks like. But I mean, it's not always the case. Sometimes when the lawn dries out, and it's hard to re-wet certain areas. And if you've ever gone on vacation, you have a potted plant and it dries out and you go to re-wet that potted plant, you put the water hose on it and the water just runs out the bottom of the potted plant. It doesn't soak into the soil because it's so hydrophobic. When you put a little wetting agent in there, just a tiny bit, not much, it'll just soak right into that potted plant. The same thing can kind of happen in the soil as well. These locally hydrophobic areas can happen in soil. When you irrigate your lawn, you think, okay, well, I irrigated my lawn, I should be fine. But there is variation in the soil across your lawn, and some of them may be hydrophobic, some of them may be hydrophilic, and there can be variation. What wetting agents will do is it'll help basically all but eliminate all that variation, essentially. You apply a little bit across the lawn once every month or once every 2 months. If there's any variation in the hydrophobicity in your soil, it will alleviate all that. Essentially, I'll say all that, pragmatically speaking, okay? So just one area I'm surprised we don't use. I don't come across that a whole lot more, but I mean, and I don't use it, but I have actually seen turfgrass responses to wetting agents. It's not easy, but they do happen. And of course, it's always in hydrophobic soils or soils that are already very dry. So I don't knock him on applying, or at least considering applying a wetting agent. If I had the problem of hydrophobic soils, that's what I would use as well. So if you're in, Arizona or California or Utah and you're having difficulty leaching sodium out and your soils are constantly drying so fast because it's so dry out there and you can't keep the soil moist, a wetting agent might be something you want to consider. I wouldn't say it would solve all your problems, but remember the bottom part of the pyramid, it's water. And this is one product that, this is pretty much the only product besides an irrigation system that addresses that most important part of the pyramid is the water part. Okay.
Now having these two together once a month and then this every 2 weeks, I don't see any brown. Do you? I see 0 brown. Lawn Commander, Lawn Advancer.
What are these? Lawn Commander. I don't know what these are, guys.
Just more N, more micro, more macro.
Just some more fertilizer and more N and more macros, I guess. I don't have the label on those. I don't know what's in them. He said there's just more in and macros and micros.
Once a month. Once a month, I'll add in some fish fertilizer just to switch it up. This is Indian River Organics, cool product from Amazon. I'll be linking everything in the description as well, guys. Yeah, that's the monthly. Okay, so this is definitely the kitchen sink, and it.
Yeah, there's really no reason to consider, anything in here other than the nitrogen, the P and K if you have those deficiencies, the iron and manganese if you want a little color, and the PGR. I mean, if those are all useful, I guess. The only thing I use is nitrogen. That's it. But if you want a really nice lawn, nitrogen, P and K probably don't need them, but whatever. And then the PGR, you don't need it, but it definitely would help. All this other stuff, these micronutrients and hydrotane and I don't know what these other things are. I don't even know what these other things are. It's just a lot of wasted money, what it is. Lawn root booster and drought defender and all this other stuff. Just wishful thinking and pseudoscience and salesmanship is all this is.
Works. This is a total of 6 times I fertilize every single month. It's ridiculous. Like I said in the beginning, there are alternatives to applying liquid fertilizers. There's alternatives to applying the fertilizers that you do and spoon feeding. You can spoon feed the granular. I'm not saying you can't. You can lower the dose of the granular. You can melt the granular down. You can grind it up in a blender.
And if I was spraying, that's what I would do. I would get foliar grade or spray grade urea and spray grade ferrous sulfate. And that's going to be 98% of the nutrition that you'd need to apply is spray grade urea, or you could do spray grade ammonium sulfate. That's splitting hairs a little bit. Urea is less expensive, but there's cases for the use of ammonium sulfate. And liquid iron. And the only reason you wouldn't really want to consider liquid iron, or particularly liquid iron sulfate, is if you have a lot of concrete, it's going to stain. Liquids aren't going to stain near as much as granulars. They will stain. It's just not going to be as obvious because it's sort of diluted across the concrete. But it will stain. There's no question about that. So if you want to avoid that, then don't go with the foliar iron sulfate. Try to get a foliar or soluble iron chelate, because those sources will have a much lower probability of staining. And at some point, I need to go over that. I have a lot of photographs back 15, 20 years ago when I was doing some staining work on pavers and on wooden fences and things like that, from liquids and from granulars. I need to pull that up maybe and go over that at some point. And I included all the chelates and all the sulfates and everything, manganese, magnesium, all these things. Maybe I should go over that.
Own mollycoddle concoction, put it in a backpack sprayer. I'm not saying this is the end all be all, right? And like if you're on a budget, you can use that diesel fuel regulator, right? That's cheap nitrogen. That's a cheap source of nitrogen. Good.
Yeah, someone needs to run the math on that. Sam's Club sells this DEF fluid, and I've never used it, but apparently it's just deionized water and urea. I'm assuming it would be legal to apply. I don't know. But what I would want to know is what the concentration in that is, or how much would it cost to put out a pound per 1,000 square feet? Don't put out a pound. I'm just saying for easy numbers. How much would it cost to put out a pound of nitrogen from that source compared to a pound of nitrogen from soluble urea? You just melted it down and sprayed it out. I would think the soluble urea would still be quite a bit less expensive, but I don't know. I've never done it. So, but that DEF fluid, what he's talking about, is just liquid urea. They use it apparently for diesel exhausts to minimize the pollution, I guess, out of the diesel exhaust. I don't know.
Good for you. If you're on a budget, use that. GS Plant Foods, super affordable. I just personally like Turf Titan. It works well together, but at the same time, like I said, I'm not biased to any fertilizers. I use them all. I don't judge.
The judge does. That's the judge's job. You have to defend yourself. You're the defendant. The judge does the judging. The defendant doesn't do the judging. So you don't have to clarify that. We got that much.
Use all the fertilizers known to man, but that formula, iron every week, well-rounded triple 18 every single week. Every 2 weeks, you got a wetting agent. Monthly, you have T-Nex, plant growth regulator. Different variations of things you can do. The T-Nex is not the only plant growth regulator. I can just speak on these things. Like, you're not going to catch me. I'm not going to talk crap about a product I haven't even used in my lawn. Okay? I'm not going to talk crap about a product that I have never even used in my lawn, right? So that's the thing for me too with these YouTubers. When you're watching them, look at their lawn and listen to what they're really saying. Are they practicing what they preach? Like, I see some people be telling me what to do with my lawn, but their lawn looks crusty and is years behind mine.
That's the reverse of a 2K. It's like saying, well, let's say you had a heart surgeon who was the world's greatest heart surgeon, but for some reason he'd go home and eat fried food, right? Well, you don't know what you're talking about because you go home and eat fried food. Meanwhile, he's the world's greatest heart surgeon. One doesn't connect to the other. And so it's the reverse of the 2K, saying, well, you do it, so why can't I do it? And so it's saying, well, like, you don't do it, and I do it. He's completely full of it. It doesn't make a difference one way or the other what the mechanic's car at his house looks like. What matters is, can the mechanic fix your car? Is he knowledgeable and experienced on fixing your vehicle? You wouldn't go to him and say, well, your vehicle's crap. Your vehicle's horrible, so you're not going to fix my car. I don't know one mechanic that doesn't have 3 cars at their house that they're constantly working on over the years. They're always, fiddling with something on different cars. That doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing with your car. It's the same thing with turf. There's very few turfgrass scientists that have nice lawns. In fact, you can go back and look at all the interviews that I've done. At the end of the guests, when I have them on, I ask them some questions. And I ask them what's in their lawn, what kind of grass they have. And some of them just like, I don't even know. It's just a Heinz 57. It's just a mix of whatever. They don't care. It doesn't matter. It's not their thing. But that doesn't mean they're not knowledgeable in turfgrass or their particular area of turfgrass. It's silly. But I do hear that a lot. I don't listen to them because they have a bad lawn. And I get that a lot from me too. You need to show us your lawn. What does my lawn care? Well, it doesn't make any difference what my lawn looks like. Who cares? Especially when I'm going over scientific literature. I'm reading the scientific literature. Half this channel involves me reading scientific papers. What does that have to do with what my lawn looks like? It makes no sense. So every time someone asks me that question, it just gets me giggling. I love it when people ask me that question. Show us your lawn. I can believe this, but I need to see your lawn. It doesn't matter. Go by the evidence. I've said for this channel for I don't know how many years. Listen to the evidence. Read the literature. I can be wrong. I am wrong. Don't listen to me. Listen to the literature. Go to the specialists in your land grant institutions who are specialists in entomology, in nematology, in pathology, in weed science. Listen to those people. They're the specialists. When it comes to me, okay, I'm a nutritionist. I'll provide nutritional information. I'll grant you that. But even I can be wrong. I'm going to go to the literature. And I encourage you all to do the same thing. Sorry.
I'm like, really? You're going to tell me what to do with my lawn and your lawn looks that crusty? What? That's not a thing. That's not a thing. Get your lawn right and then talk to me. You know what I mean?
Well, if I want information or knowledge on how to, oh man, I want to say this so bad. Serenity now. Serenity now. I'm not going to say it. But if I want to know how to I'll just say this. If I want to know how to plead guilty to a felony, I know who to call. Yard Bra. Okay?
Guys, you can listen to whatever you want, but I'm here to show you results. All I'm saying is you will never catch me talking about a product I've never used. Like, I will never give you an in-depth review on something that I've never even put down into my lawn. How are you gonna tell me if you haven't even used it? You know what I mean? Where's the experience? Like I said in the beginning, experience. You can't just tell me it's too expensive or it's the same thing as this. Did you use it? Did you use it in your lawn? No, you didn't. End of the day, bro. I'm gonna show you guys what works in my lawn, and then you can also replicate and do what you want. I also told you that you can switch it up. You can switch up the products. You just have to have your main ingredients on the schedule. I'll put the schedule down in the description as well. Guys, this is the mollycoddle mix. This is the game changer. This is how you level up your lawn. It's the middle of summer, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only green lawn here. Yeah, because everything else, it's like green, but then there's brown. Green, then brown, or weeds, and it's just like, it's a hot mess. Mine? Come on, bro.
Yeah, so that's a perfect example of affirming the consequent. I'm doing all this stuff and my lawn looks like this. Therefore, all this stuff is causing my lawn to look like this. There's very little doubt that part of what you're applying is causing that. Yeah, the nitrogen, the iron, manganese, PGRs. But all that other stuff is just a bunch of nonsense. But I wanted to use that as an example. Just remember, like, it's the affirmative the consequence. It's a formal fallacy where the structure is flawed. The content is not flawed. In other words, the two premises are true, but you can't assume that, A caused B just because you saw B. Okay, you're not accounting for other potential sources or causes of what you saw. And then there's a whole lot of chat tonight, guys. I'm really happy to see so many people here tonight. I'm gonna scroll back through the chat and see if there's anything. Anything I'm glad. I'm happy. You guys are making me laugh. Just keep it legal, okay? Keep everything legal. What you're talking about. I don't want to get banned from YouTube. There's a lot of chat in here that's making me laugh, but it's really hard to go over. So, was Chuck Bingsing? Oh, that's what the question was. Does Botrix help with the on-screen chat comments? No, I think that's what's allowing me to do I think it's allowing me to do the chat up on the screen. I think, Chuck, maybe that's what the other person was saying with somebody helping with the chat. And it's just a system that allows me to put this chat on the screen, which I tried to do for months. I can't figure out how to do it, and I finally did. So yeah, let me scroll back to the chat and see if. Yeah. So Kuhnheim Pharaoh says he saw this in the grass factor first too. Yeah, I believe that's where I saw it too as well. To go check out the our friend here from the Yard Brawl and what he is not even accused, but what he actually pleaded guilty to. Let's see. Oh, come on, Gray Fox. He says, I can't watch this guy. See you later. Hope you're still here. That was early on. Any questions? Ashanti says, it's taking me back to my logic class in college. Yeah, I kind of wish sometimes I would have taken some law classes in college, because I seem to be fascinated with fallacies and structuring arguments and things like that. And come to find out, apparently that's what a lot of attorneys end up doing. I should have done that more. Okay, let's I'm just reading the chat here, see. I don't know what's going on. The Princess Cut Long Care says, I'm good, excited for the new season. Hope you're doing well too. I think he's talking to Aldo on that one. But I'm glad to see you here, Princess and Aldo. All right, guys. So what I'm going to do, I don't see any questions specifically. I mean, there's so much chat, it's going to take me forever to get through it. So what I'm going to do is, here we go. Dave T says, I just asked Grok, I think that's the Twitter AI thing, about phosphorus for Washington State. It stated phosphorus can be applied if a soil test conducted within the last 3 years indicates a deficiency in plant available phosphorus. So that's in Washington State. I don't know what they use up there in Washington State, and I don't know what their limit is. But unfortunately, and I've said this before, I don't like the government getting in my business. But in some cases, there's clear evidence that unfortunately, the legislature and the government getting into the business of fertilizers and things like that end up being beneficial. I wish people would take the responsibility and follow the evidence on their own. But when they don't, the government gets involved. There's evidence to indicate that can be beneficial. So. Western Mass Turf says, Massachusetts is the same, no phosphorus unless a soil test says low or it's organic. How does that make sense? Organic phosphorus? Yeah, that's one problem with natural organics. I don't know what Massachusetts says, but with natural organics, they can say, well, you can apply it if it's natural organic. That's part of the problem, is that a lot of people are applying natural organics based upon the rate of nitrogen, and they're over applying phosphorus. That can be a huge problem. Yeah. Come down, Pharaoh. How the heck did grass survive millions of years without kelp booster? Yeah, I don't know. Primetime Fescue. I don't know. He says, I bet he's affiliated with Turf Tide, and I don't know. And to be frank, I don't really care. I mean, some people say, oh, he's got affiliated links and he's selling this or selling that. I don't have a problem with selling stuff. Sell it. I don't have a problem with being affiliated or sponsoring it. Well, that's the reason I try to stay on the claims. The claims are complete nonsense, but if he's selling stuff, he's associated with them, so be it. What are you going to do? It's capitalism, right? Oh yeah, Super TA. Yeah, so we are aware. Yeah, that's the reason the title is what it is. So yeah, we are aware. I hope everybody's aware of who you're dealing with if you choose to go and watch his channel. I'm not going to say some of this stuff. I do want to put that up, Coonhound. I do want to put it up, but I'm not going to. Shawnee said he's trying to start the Amazon lawn pharmacy. Yeah. The chat is on fire tonight, Eric. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad we have so many people here tonight. We had over 100 tonight. That's the first time I broke 100 on the channel. And really, it's thanks to three groups of people. Number one, my wife. So sorry, subscribers and members. My wife is number one. My wife funded this whole thing for I don't know how many months trying to keep it going. And number two is the members. The members actually support this channel more than, it's like 85%, I think it is, of the revenue comes from members. So please consider being a member. All the revenue goes to support the channel and to support Turfgrass research. And then the subscribers. Subscribers help out a lot. I really appreciate everybody subscribing and participating in the chat and commenting on the videos. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Elevated Landscape says it doesn't have to be complicated. It has been my approach the past couple of years. It really doesn't. It's not that complicated. And when it comes to the pyramid, the water, light, temperature, the injury, and the fertile soil pyramid, that fertile soil, it's usually not the biggest problem. But in order to convince people to buy products, where the majority of products are in that top part of the pyramid, the fertile soil pyramid, these are products like phosphorus, potassium, and nitrogen is in there, which is very useful. But there's other things like kelp and humic acids and all these other things that go in there. If you're not convinced to buy it, they got to find some other way to convince you. And oftentimes that means throwing a bunch of word salad at you, throwing a bunch of supposed university studies at you to convince you that indeed it works. And that's a very dangerous place to go down. You can end up spending a lot of money on doing things that, aren't particularly useful. I don't see anything. Let me see. Is there anything else to go over? Okay, I think what I'll do is I'll save some of these comments and maybe put them in the comments and emails episode at the end of this month. If there's anything interesting in here, I'll include that in the comments and emails, which I'll have at the end of this month. If you want your comment or your email included in that episode, which I'm already packed, but I'll do my best to include it at the end of this month. I'll do one. And there's one email that is absolute pure gold, and I cannot include it. And I wish I could. I even emailed the guy. I was like, man, I would love to include this email. It was a real favorable email, very, very flattering, very favorable email, but I can't include it. But man, I really want to. Oh my God, I really want to. So I'll go over those emails at the end of February and include any comments or emails that I get between now and then. So Andrew Burr says DEF is 32% urea. Okay. Well, that's pretty high urea. Does anybody have here it is. DEF's 2.5 gallons at Walmart brand is $8.88. I don't know what that would cost. I'd have to do the math and figure out what it costs. Here it is. Bobby F says, if you can get a urea bag for under $40, then do that. If it's more expensive than the DEF Walmart brand is a good option. Okay, that's good to know. The bag of urea usually is less than $40, so it probably is. Oh, Andrew Winter says it's 15%. Oh, maybe there's a mistake. Maybe the DEF is 15% nitrogen. I don't know. Sorry. I need to figure that out. I don't know. I'll put this one up because it's polite, kind of polite. Turf Nerd says, I'll show you my lawn if you show me yours. That kind of plays into some of the yard bras problems. I like that. Thank you, Brandon Kennedy says, chat, we're short on 60 plus likes. Hit the like button. I appreciate you reminding me to do that. Hey, Turf Nerd, were you number one? I think you were. Was that right? I know it showed up. You might be the first member that I had. I don't remember now, but you might be. Yeah. I know it. I opened it up before I actually announced it. Somebody joined as a member before I announced it on the show. And I think it might have been you. Yeah. Jonathan Ralston says, listening for any recommendations on Poetriv. I only have one recommendation on Poetriv. Actually, I have two. If you have tall fescue, I use a product that I got from the guys at the Grass Factory, actually, because I'm not a weed biologist, and it was what's that DM product? What's the name of that product? Someone put it in the chat. It's no, I can't remember what it is. Someone will put it in the chat. There's a herbicide. It's called something DM, and it worked really well on Poetriv. But you have to be real careful the time of year you put it out with the temperature. There is another option that I use that, for the sake of keeping things legal, I'm not going to mention it. But there is another option that can be used that has to do with a non-selective herbicide. But I'm not 100% sure because I do research. I'm not 100% sure if it's legal to do on a home lawn. On research, when you have a research application license, you can kind of do some funky things, but I'm not sure if it's illegal to do on a home lawn, so I'm not going to mention that. Well, Primetime Fescue mentions, and there's also another product called glufosinate, which is a little bit more of a upper above ground type activity as a non-selective, and it tends to be a little bit quicker to act on Poetriv. And if you're dealing with tall fescue, particularly a mature stand of tall fescue, sometimes you can spray it and not kill the tall fescue. Sorry. No one remembers the name of that Poetriv. Velocity PM. There you go. Right there. Thank you. Upper 510. Sorry. That's the product for Poetriv that I apply. You just got to be real careful because the temperature it can be really phytotoxic to the non-target organism if you're not careful, if it gets too hot. So you want to be careful you do it at the right time of year. Okay, guys and gals, I'll be back on Monday morning for the members only stream. I really appreciate it. It's a really good show tonight. I really appreciate everybody participating. I really like it when you guys come on and participate with the chat. I can't thank you enough for everything you all do. Thanks so much. I'll see the members on Monday morning for another video. If you want to watch a video live, if you want to watch it at all, on the members only, I'm going to do my best to do another video on Monday for the members. So consider being a member and come by and say hello. See ya. Bye.